Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So this weekend, I got absolutely rolled by this deck in front of you. It came out of nowhere and I didn't know how to handle it. Let's cover why. So this green control deck, right, it had two top placings in the top 16 out of 128 players this weekend at the PPG event, and I went against it in the final round. I believe this was my opponent actually, and I had no idea how to play against it. I had never played against this type of the green control deck. I've played against several green decks in the past. None of them were this brutal. And what I really like about this deck is that it's so much different from normal decks that we currently are seeing, where you're just kind of having a lot of good stuff going on, or you've got one big tent pole piece like Omnimon that you're trying to get out and then as quickly as possible and then just, beat over from there. This deck has a strategy, like an actual strategy, with multiple pieces all coming into play that all work in a nice cohesive manner and just really does control the board state. So green control, absolutely terrifying. Some other people have already covered it. Espera, he did a video over it. He actually piloted it himself. Unfortunately he didn't make it into the top 16, but the deck is still remarkable either way. It does get a little, you kind of can turn your own flair of it a bit at the end. You have a lot of flex spots, and I'm going to cover that. I kind of built my own version of it, and I want to kind of go over what this deck is supposed to do, right? A lot of people say, their numbers, and that's about it, and they say, if it did good or bad. But no one that I've seen so far really explains what you're supposed to do with this deck, right? Or they've definitely not said how you go about combating it. So that's definitely one of the things I want to let you guys know, because I figured out how to handle it for my deck personally. Literally, I was losing the game 2, and I finally figured out how I could beat it. But by then, it was already too late. The wheels were in motion, and I was being defeated as I figured it out. Alright, so it's pretty simple here, right? They're nice when you can trigger them, that sort of thing. This is just green's version of getting that extra 1000 DP. It's actually not too difficult if you've Digivolved this turn. Not even with this one in particular, but any of your Digimon in the field, you get 1000 DP, so that's pretty good. And then you're kind of this is more of just having another filler on spot, but the 2000 DP buff, most colors have them, and this is green's version of it. Next, so then we get into their rookies here, and all the rookies are pretty standard cost for sure. They've got their 2-drop 0 evolution cost, alright? But unlike other decks, they're only running a single one of those. So you've only got the Goblimon here as the 2-drop. From there, they're running Tentomon, and this is where the strategy actually starts. At the very base level here is with Tentomon. And when attacking as an inheritable, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 power or less. And that's kind of what this deck is all about, is you suspend your opponent's Digimon and you attack them, and you continue to basically beat your opponent back so that way they can never get into any Digimon. And on the side, you're slowly chipping away at their security. And that's the point of this. Isn't just to do a whole bunch of security checks. It's not even to do a bunch of piercing damage, which is a big thing green is good at. It's not even to do that. It's just simply to control the opponent's side of the board so that way they can never build up into anything. From there, we've got the Agumon here, just a 1000 DP buff. Pretty simple. Makes perfect sense here, especially because your tent pole piece, your big bad Digimon here, is only a 12k. So there's plenty of the vanillas for every other color out there that's 12k. So it's really important to be able to beat over those guys, either with your rookie or with your Agumon bumping you up to 13k. The last rookie here is the Palmon, which is just an on-play, so it's good to have at least one on-play rookie, I feel, at least, as a blue player playing Gabumon for that draw. But for this one, reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 level 4 Digimon among them to your hand, place the remaining cards on the bottom of the deck in any order. That's just to help ensure that you're getting your combos and your Digivolving, because this deck is all about Digivolving. Thankfully, green is so well costed, just absolutely crazy on how good it is at costed for Digivolutions. So being able to make sure that you can get into your level 4s, either search for a blocker like Woodmon, or get a Vegemon when you're trying to be very cost efficient and get that 1 cost evolution, which is our next card here. So we got Vegemon, you know, your standard 1 cost vanilla level 4 here, which nice about Vegemon though is only a 4 play cost, which is less than something like a Gorillamon, which is a 6 play cost. So they're identical, except for some reason Vegemon has a 4 play cost less. Next is your standard blocker here. You know, it's a good idea to run blockers. Some people like to only run 3 blockers. I'm personally all about running 4. The other players from that top of the event, they are very insistent on running 4 blockers as well, and I completely agree. Next is something that this starts setting green up on another tier from other decks, I think, is the fact that they already have a second 1 cost evolution Digimon. Yeah, they have 2, which thank God blue and red don't, because we already have enough issues dealing with Omnimon as it is, and if they had one of these, it'd be even worse. But the inheritable here is this Digimon gets 1000 DP for every suspended Digimon your opponent has. And like I said, you're all about suspending them and then attacking into them. So with the Kabuterimon, you're making sure that, again, if you don't have the Agumon or the Tenamon active, you're getting a way to make sure you get that extra little bit of a buff to hit over other things. Mainly, your biggest issue, and we'll get to it, but is Omnimon. Omnimon's that big, fat 15k DP, which is a lot to work over, all right? But we have ways to mitigate that, so we'll cover it. Next is our level 5s here. So we got 12 level 4s, which is pretty standard. Some decks are running 11 level 4s, but when your level 4s are only 1 to Digivolve cost, why not go ahead and maximize on that? So next is this guy here, that name, Okiwamon, but its inheritable is your turn. When this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, gain 1 memory. Playing that memory game is just always so good. It's very, very much a memory game, and being able to gain that is great. Another thing is, this is a level 5 with a 2 cost evolution that's not a vanilla. Again, green just gets all the good stuff. So memory efficient. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. Just all these 2 cost evolutions. Look at this. All these level 5s here are all 2 costs, and they all have effects. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and cover this one now, is Cherrymon. He's just another blocker. It's just kind of nice because he's a 7k blocker, so you're stopping pretty much everything level 4 and lower, which is great. It's just another blocker, truly. You can step up over it as well, and again, only a 2 cost evolution, so it doesn't hurt to play it. Then this is kind of one of the key pieces right here of the whole strategy is Lilymon. And again, 2 cost evolution on a level 5 here with a great inheritable of when attacking, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon without blocker. There's no stipulation. There's no DP restriction like Tentamon has. It's just any of them, as long as they don't have blocker. And again, if it's a blocker, you're other than black, you're probably not worried about them. So just absolutely wild of a card. Really plays into this strategy here, because then you have your big 12k DP Digimon who is just pushing over everything. So the strategy is generally you're going to have 2 Titamons on field, right? You're going to have one that's going to have the Lilymon, so that way when you attack with that first one, and then you rest whatever threat it is you're trying to remove from the field, right? So if they're at level 5 Monzemon or something like that, they're trying to step up into that Omnimon next round, or they're sitting on that Plesiomon, and you got to get those off the field as soon as possible. You attack with the first Titamon to rest them if they're not already rested, and then use the other one to punch over them, right? So you build one that's a little bit more beefy and attack-wise, and you have the other one that's set up to suspend when it attacks. Like a Tentomon and a Lilymon, so then you get a suspend 2, like a whatever rookie that they've got sitting out there. You know, it's like, go ahead and just clear the rookie off, and you don't have to worry about rookie rush, you don't have to worry about anything like that. You just start clearing the field of all their stuff, and that's just your two main tent poles there. And they're so cheap to get into these guys. I mean, I gave them like 2 memory, and they bullied me with 2 memory. I mean, they got so many evolutions off, and they got so high, it was just insane. Especially if they're triggering this guy over here and getting just that 1 free memory when attacking, right? Or when destroying a Digimon. Again, that's the strategy. Is you're gonna want this guy on your beat stick, right? So he's the one that's, when he's hitting, you're getting that memory. So maybe you might swing for security with the first, suspend their stuff that's a threat, and then the second one comes in and clears it up, and you know, get the memory off of it. You know, all of that great good stuff like that. And that's the strategy to this deck that a lot of people haven't actually said what it's supposed to do. And that's it. You're 2 Titamons on field, at least 2. You can have more. But 1 to maybe punch into security or punch into something that's already rested, and then rest the other things that could become threats at some point, and then punch over those. And so you're just clearing the whole field, and your opponent just, they never have a chance to build up into anything because you never give them enough memory to work with. This green deck is so good at choking out the opponent with giving them 1, maybe 2 memory every turn. I think whenever I played it, I consistently only ever got 1 memory. If I could get 2 memory, I could have done something with that, but I only ever got 1. And I just, even with Blue and Hammer Spark, things like that, I could never just quite get ahead enough to deal with this deck. And it just works so fast because of how memory efficient it is. It ramps up in those Titamons so fast. So next is where we kind of get into, basically that's the core of the deck, and then we get into some flex spots. Cherrymon is also kind of a flex spot. You can go either way with that. It seemed like Lilymon was a solid 3 of, because you only ever need 1 Lilymon as an inheritable. Even if you have multiple Titamons, you only really need the 1 Lilymon, and you can have multiples of other things, like this guy over here. It's better to have more of him, like 2 of him and 1 Lilymon, than rather 2 Lilymon and 1 of him. So that's why she's at 1 less than he is, and so then Cherrymon's kind of just a bit of a flex spot. Mimi though, Mimi's just a great tamer, just across the board. Only a 2 of though, because you really only need 1 on field. You want to see it during the game. Espera kind of really covered this really good in his video. You want to at least see it at some point in the game, but it's not crucial to the strategy. It's not mandatory. Getting that 3 memory, so that way they can't choke you out. You only need 1 of those to trigger for that. And then the other option is when you can, tap it if you have a level 5, and then you get to either hatch an egg if you don't have one, or bring one out if you have a rookie on it, right? And how the rules work, if you use Mimi's effect to bring out a rookie that digivolved over an egg that hatched this turn, you can immediately attack with it that turn, which is just game busted, okay? Because usually when things like that, on the turn they're played or summoned, whatever you want to call it, they have summoning sickness for the turn. But Mimi is a way to get around that, because technically when, rookies come out of the raising area, they can always attack that turn normally. So she plays up to that effect, which is so good. Just great for the strategy, but not necessary. Like I said, it's good to see it at least once. That's why 2 of is good. You should at least draw into 1 of them at some point in the game, in the match. Moving on from there is Flower Cannon. Flower Cannon is just one of the best options in green as a whole. A 2 play cost is just crazy to suspend any Digimon. And with this whole strategy of wanting to attack into something, if you don't say you don't have the Lilymon out there, or you don't have two Titamons, one to suspend, the other one to attack over it, you can always Flower Cannon and then beat over whatever that threat is if you only have the one big beater on field. As well as the security, I mean, this is probably one of the best security effects as a whole across all of Digimon, currently in the 1.0 for sure. Suspend all your opponent's Digimon without blocker. Just shuts down Rookie Rush. It shuts down so many decks for a full turn. I mean, they hit this on their first swing with several Digimon. I mean, that's it. Their turn is done. It's over with. Have a nice day. So I think it's a great 4-of, because even if you draw into it, that play cost of 2 is just too easy. Too easy to get great use out of this, especially in this strategy of always wanting to attack over your opponent's Digimon. Next is Terror Clusters, or Terrors Cluster. I feel like that S should be on the other word. But this is great removal. I love this. This is probably, I would say, one of the best removals in this entire game. I like it more than Trump Sword. I definitely like it more than Kakai's Breath. I hate Kakai's Breath, but it's all we have for blue. It's almost better than Red's Gaia Force, honestly. Return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of their deck. Then trash all the Digivolution cards, of course. Security effect is activate this, which is great, which makes me like this so much more than Trump Sword, because with Trump Sword is after they've attacked and this is revealed in security, that Digimon that just hit into it is now rested, and so then you can't use Trump Sword on it, okay? Maybe if it's like an Omnimon and it's the first attack since being summoned, they might be unsuspended, but more often, more chance of it actually happening is they're going to be suspended. So I think Terror's Cluster is just better than Trump Sword because of that, as well as most people, before they drop their Omnimon, they swing with the level 6 and then Digivolve the Omnimon on top of that, so it's already rested, because that 6 cost usually passes their turn. So they want to at least attack first before they have to pass their turn. So then this just gets so much more value, as well as it's great for getting around Millenniummon, because it puts it to the bottom of their deck instead of destroying it, so you don't trigger any Millenniummons. Awesome, awesome card. Great. The problem is this is the only way that this deck can handle Omnimon. Nothing else in this deck can do it for you. With the Titamon, so you've got this base 12k. Say you've got the Agumon here pumping you up to 13, and then the Tenamon maybe bumping you up to 14, or if you're really lucky, the Freemon. But I definitely would not count on that. But I mean, it is possible for sure. And but Kabuterimon is kind of your only option here to really hit over, and they need at least 3 to match it, or 2 if you have the Agumon. It just gets really, really chancy. It is possible to hit over an Omnimon, but it's just, you need so many things lined up for it to actually happen. The Digivolve, the Agumon, the Kabuterimon, and them having stuff suspended, just to be able to match it and then get really lucky to actually be able to hit over it. And that's kind of where this deck falls, is dealing with Omnimon. If you ever let your opponent get up into an Omnimon, you struggle. This deck struggles so much at that point, and that's my issue with this. Where I fell at taking on this deck was that I should have built up in my raising area all the way into a Plesiomon and then brought it out and Digivolved into my Omnimon that turn to deal with the Titamons that were on field. And then I could have really just walked over the deck from there. But I didn't, and I kept playing my stuff out onto the field, and they kept clearing it every turn. They weren't progressing through my security at all, but they were just getting rid of all my card advantage slowly, every turn, just clearing out everything I tried to play. And then eventually I got to the point where I was drawing, maybe 1-2 cards a turn, and they had so much on the field I couldn't come back from it. And then they just started cleaning up all the security. So if you're playing a Omnimon strategy, I really recommend holding off all your stuff in the raising area until you can actually get the Omnimon out for sure, and making sure that you don't have to worry about them hitting over it with the Kabuterimon, Inheritable, or Agumon, anything like that. Also, you have to watch out for the Terrace Cluster. What I noticed, though, was that most of these green decks were only playing 2 Terrace Cluster, and while normally that might be the correct call, I think in this exact current meta, with Blue Omnimon just being everywhere, I think the smarter play is to bump it up to 3 at least. 4 might be a little much. It is a 7 cost. Red plays 4 Gaia 4, so you could almost match the same and do the same thing here. The last flex spot, though, is Puppetmon. Puppetmon just in itself is a great card. I play it in my blue deck, just that on-play effect, it just wins you games, especially with this deck where you get to, so you'll suspend one of their Digimon, and then they all stay suspended for that turn, so then it comes back to your turn next, and then you just get, like, open season and just punch over anything you want with your Titamons and with your Puppetmon. 10k DP is nothing to sneeze at. You get that free memory, but seeing as this is also still technically a green deck, it is a Digivolution cost of 3. I mean, you could, in theory, drop it if you're trying to push for game, Digivolve it on top of a Cherrymon and punch for game. You get 3 Digivolve cost, right? But as soon as you attack, you get 1 memory back. So in a way, it's kind of only 2 memory cost, same as your Titamon there. So, and then you just start getting value every turn that you attack with it. So for a green deck, I would definitely play a Puppetmon, or 2 Puppetmon for sure, as my my 11 cost drop, right? I always play 11 cost drops in whatever deck. In my blue deck, I play the Volcanic Dramon. Even though it's red, because I play Omnimon, I can Digivolve my Omnimon on top of it. Playing Puppetmon in a green deck, where if I ever needed to, I could drop it on top of level 5 and push for game. So, especially if I need a 10k or whatever, if I need to punch over something that could be a threat in a turn or two, then again, dropping the Puppetmon is a great counter for that. So overall, congrats to the ones that piloted it and managed to top here, top 6 and top 11. I mean, that's awesome. I actually, as soon as the match was over, I actually went through my cards and I was like, do I have enough to build this deck? Because I would love to try it out, even just for fun, not for my budget series, but just to play it, to see how it goes. And unfortunately, I don't have it yet, but we still have a couple more months, 2 more months roughly, until 1.5 comes out. So by then, hopefully we'll get enough to finish this deck off. I mean, literally, the hardest thing to get here are the rares. I've pulled, crazy enough, 5 Flower Cannons, 1 Ultra Art, 2 regulars. I pulled 0 Lilymon so far. So explain that, I don't know. But again, we're dealing with all just rares here, so it should be pretty doable. Eventually we'll have enough to at least try this deck out for fun. Alright, so at this point, if any of you are still here, or if you skipped ahead because you wanted to see, this part in the video, we finally hit our 1,000 subscribers last week. It was either Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve, and I was just so ecstatic. Or it might have been, I don't know. Either way, I was excited to hit it before the end of the new year. So we're finally getting in here. We're going to do our draw here. So thank you for everybody that commented, liked the video. I mean, just outstanding people for sure. And I'm definitely excited to pass this game mat on to you, whoever wins it. Make sure that check for my email is going to be, you can find it pretty easily here. Just come down here to the About section, and then it's right in here. So just email the account with your account that's winning here on YouTube, and with your address, so I can get this sent off to you completely free of charge. All right, so we got the list in there, and let's go ahead and start this randomizer. Yogashi, you are the winner. You are the winner. So thank you so much for commenting, and that's funny, Coyote Tango. Are you a Dragon Village M fan and commented on the Digimon post? That's kind of funny. But yeah, so email me and send me your address, and I will get that sent off to you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please support the channel in any way you can. Just liking the video or subscribing is a huge help. And if you really want to support the channel, consider checking out my Patreon. There's a link in the description below for it. You can get access to my Discord server as well as some other cool incentives. Also, check out my official merch store. There's a link in the description below for my Teespring account. You get access to all my cool merch that I've got on there, as well as some other cool stuff, cool phone cases, that sort of thing. But like I said, any kind of support is always appreciated. Just simply liking the video can go a very long way for me. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.